Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Retro Hack Shack After Hours, my second channel. Today is an e-waste Wednesday. Now, longtime viewers will know that this is when I go out to e-waste. Typically, I go on Wednesday, find some stuff, bring it back, take a look at it, and it ends up on the channel in one form or another for the most part. I thought I would just take my haul since it's nice and neat and in this tote, and we could go through it. So let's check out e-waste Wednesday right now on Retro Hack Shack After Hours. Okay, let's take a look at this haul. It's an interesting one, I think, although nothing stands out as like, oh, this is ultra rare or anything like that. But I thought it might be fun just to go through another one of these where I just show what I find. And I appreciate everyone that's subscribed to the channel. And it's good because I'm really splitting up the content between the two channels at this point, kind of doing some experiments, see what works on one channel, what works on another one. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's been interesting so far. And I hope you like having double access to content from me. And as I mentioned, this is e-waste Wednesday, or as I affectionately refer to it, or disaffectionately refer to it as EW, because that's what EWW kind of spells out or sounds out. So this is an EW episode again. And yeah, let's just start pulling things out. I'm hopefully going to do this in one take. So whatever I say or flub up or mess up on, I'll do some splicing and some quick edits here and there. And then I'm just going to throw this out on the channel and hopefully you enjoy it. So here are two cards that are very, they look similar, but they are a bit different. They are DekTec Cards. This one is a DTA-115, and they have to do with like frequency modulation testing and stuff like that, and should fit into a PCI slot. And yeah, they just look pretty interesting. This one has like a coax connector on it on this side, and these have BNC connectors on them. I can't see the model number under there. They both are DTA 115 and DTA something. I can't quite read it, but they look pretty interesting. And I'm wondering if I could use these to do some sort of, I think they're for modulation testing or something. Let's do a quick search and see what comes up on these cards. All right, well, it's a little hard to read this data sheet, so this is what I pulled up. It doesn't explain everything to me because I'm not an expert in HD TV signals and things like that. But I do see down here it says VHF and UHF attenuation. And somewhere in here I saw, oh yeah, ATSC. So I'm assuming these are some sort of modulator. Like, I'm wondering if they take a signal in and then can output them at different frequencies so you can test different frequencies or something. They say they come with some amplification as well. So yeah, up converter. So I'm assuming there's an input and then you can output it. So maybe this is meant to be used for like inputting old school TV signals and then up converting them to digital bands. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. If you know anything about these DekTec cards, let me know. But I'm going to do some more research. I'm not going to do it now, but I'll do some more research and maybe, I don't know, maybe we can test these out if they're interesting enough. Okay, I know these are going to be pretty boring, but they were just some power supplies I picked up for next to nothing. I'm always looking for a few extra power supplies, especially ones that have, you know, odd connectors on them. This is a Dell power supply that has kind of like that big fat round connector and then a really small one in the middle that does like, I don't know, voltage sensing or something. I've gotten these before where they don't work because that middle pin isn't set right. So I just figured I'd pick one up. And then this one has like that 4-pin a PS2 connector or something, but it's not. It's a power connector. And I don't have any of these, so I figured I just picked one up. I think they're both 19 volts, pretty standard fare, but you know, you never know when you're going to need one, and they're small, easy to store, so I picked up a couple of these. And by the way, I will reveal what I paid for this whole lot at the end here as we go, so stick around for that. Now, here's something that you might have had, either growing up or as a youngster, the WICO Command Control Trackball for Atari and Commodore and Sears. It supports all of those systems. It looks really, really nice. I was really excited to find this. So you can play this on games, like I said, Atari or Commodore. It uses the same pinout. It's got one button and a trackball. Let's open this up and make sure it's actually in here. Sure enough, here it is. Trackball. Really nice, actually. That would be fun to play some Centipede with. And it's pretty heavy as well, so it should stay put on any surface. And then here is the the manual even that came with it. Congratulations, you've purchased the finest trackball money can buy. And it's compatible with a lot of systems. So comes with a limited warranty, talks about all their other joysticks. I have several WICO joysticks. I've fixed up a couple in the past. Looks like here it needs a power supply. Oh, you need one for TRS-80, Texas Instruments, and Odyssey. And it says it plugs into the power supply over here on the side, but I don't have that. So yeah, maybe they had different kinds of trackballs, and one of them did have the Odyssey or the AC power one. Maybe we should try it out with a game just to see if it works. So in case any of you are wondering if I ever actually use any of these computers that are on the shelves behind my videos, the answer is yes. And a lot of times I use it for exactly this purpose, which is testing out equipment quickly. You know, all of these systems are basically working. So they're known good working components. And if I ever want to test something like this joystick on an Atari, and I've got one set up, it's connected to a TV, I can just switch it up, do a quick test, and go. And that generally doesn't make it into my videos, but I do use these systems back here quite often. So I've got the WICO command control trackball set up, and of course I'm going to be testing this with Missile Command, because of course in the arcade Missile Command had a trackball, but when it came to the Atari 2600, they had to use the joystick to get all the action needed to move the little cursor around. So let's go ahead and try this out and see if this thing's working. Oh yeah. Yeah, very nice actually. It's a little slow, but it is working, so maybe we need to clean this up a bit. Clean the connections on the inside, take it apart. Shouldn't be that big of a deal to clean, and it feels like it's even getting a little bit more responsive as I'm using it, so I'm probably knocking some of the buildup on the contacts off as I'm using it. It's quite heavy and substantial, so this would be something that you definitely want to put, you definitely want to put on a table and probably use it that way. But, you know, for me, it's actually working pretty well just in my hands like this. So let's see how this works on a couple other games, but for now, I'm going to see if I can get a new record in Missile Command. Okay, let's try something that's more geared towards a typical joystick just to see how it would play. So this is ET here. And yeah, of course, it absolutely works as expected. The only difference is it's a lot easier, of course, with the joystick if you want to go one direction just to hold the joystick over. In this case, with the trackball, you know, you have to keep scrolling forever until you get where you're going. So you're going to put a lot of miles on the joystick this way. Let's just, let's go into one of these things. Whoop, nothing there. And then get out of here. Whoops. Yeah, this is the problem with ET. This is why people hate this game sometimes. Anyway, it absolutely works with the typical game like, you know, maybe Adventure or ET in this case. And one more, let's just try Enduro, because it's one of my favorite games, and I've played that until I had blisters on my hands, basically with the regular joysticks, like this one here. But let's try it with the trackball and see if it makes any difference. So with Enduro, just so you know, the button on the joystick is the accelerator. You can pull back on the joystick, or like the negative Y direction on the trackball to decelerate. And then, of course, you have left, right, as you would expect. Oh. This actually feels pretty good at high speed or higher speed. One thing I notice is that, you know, there's a little bit of, because it's a trackball. Oh, look at that move. Because this is a trackball, when I move in the positive and negative axes, it also triggers a little bit of the negative Y. So as I'm moving back and forth, I'm actually decelerating, which can be useful sometimes. Oh, I couldn't make it there. I actually really like this movement with the trackball. It works a lot better than you might think. Oh, I hit that car too. I was able to weave in through one of those a little bit better than I could have with a joystick. So, yeah, I think this is actually a winner. I might try to play a little bit more Enduro with the trackball because it actually works quite well, surprisingly well. Okay, the other thing I found is this little baby right here. It's a mini record player. Get this off here. And it just looked like it was in really good shape, although I didn't see this on the dial. That somebody left a cigarette here or something. So that's not good, but the dial still works anyway. But yeah, it does 16, 33, 45, 78. And it has a stylus on there, and it's one of those flippable ones that'll do long play or 78s, I believe. And it's got another dial over here for the size of the record, 12, 10, 7-inch. And it looks like it might do manual, or I mean automatic, two things. It looks like you could stack some records on here because it has the arm which holds the records up here and the little thing that goes in and pops the record down. And then it looks like it might automatically retract the arm back to center here. So yeah, I doubt that this will actually work. Doesn't really have much spring in here. It seems like it should need a belt or something like that, but okay, so this is a Panasonic, looks like RD7413 is the model number for those playing along at home. I did not test this before I brought it home, so let's just go ahead and plug it in. I would be very surprised if it works without at least a belt change, but who knows? Maybe it's direct drive. Okay, here we go, plugging it in. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but this I should have tested this first. The platter, it must be direct drive because the platter is absolutely stuck solid. So that's going to require a repair episode in and of itself. So I'm just going to write on here that the platter is stuck. Maybe I can get in there and do some quick repair, loosen up that motor, because I do hear the motor trying to spin. The motor's engaged, trying to go, but the platter itself is stuck. So that'll be an interesting repair video, but you know, it doesn't take up much space and it's kind of cute. I kind of like it. And it's Panasonic, so maybe it's decent quality if I can repair the whatever's stuck here on the motor. Okay, now this last bit is going to take a little bit of explanation. So I was able to root through some of the boxes of stuff that they had in the area where you're not supposed to be like unescorted or like without a helmet, because there's forklifts and stuff going through there and they don't want anybody there. But they kind of set me over in a corner and let me go through a couple of boxes that they had brought in. And this isn't something I would normally buy because, you know, just like those cards, I mean, the cards might be a little bit old. They're probably from the 2000s, those upscaler cards. These are probably also from, I would imagine, the 2000s, right? The 2000 era. But these are all motherboards. And, you know, I just had this feeling that I should just go ahead and grab these because they're all motherboards that are pretty much sealed. But I went through these, and these are actually of an interesting vintage because they pretty much, I think all the ones I got have PCI, and then some of them have PCI Express as well. A lot of them, if not most of them, have SATA ports on them as well as floppy and IDE ports on them. And those are very useful to me because you can mix modern and older stuff together. And even though they're not vintage, the way I would think of stuff from the 70s and 80s, they still could be very useful. And most of the ones that I found, like this one, are still completely sealed, never been open motherboards. So they're new, old stock motherboards for the most part that were just sitting there in a box. They still have the processor, the little plastic part for the processor is still in there. These have never been opened, never been used. And someone just brought them to eWaste, and I bought one. You know, I got one, and I was like, oh, this will be interesting to look at, and I'll look at it later. Then I was like, wait, there's more, and I got another one. I got another one. Finally, I just decided to buy all of the ones that were sealed like this. Little insider secret here I'm going to share with you now. If you can buy in bulk, you're much more likely to get a better deal than if you buy one or two of something. And so I kind of learned that along the way. I would have paid a very minor difference between buying one or two or three of these things and buying what I did, which in this case just happens to be 12 motherboards that for the most part are sealed, never been used, new old stock boards that somebody could use to fix an old system that they really care about or for other purposes that I'll bring up in just a minute. All right, so let's take a look at one of these more closely. This one, the tape has come off, but I still think it was pretty much new in box. If it was used, you know, it was well taken care of. It doesn't have anything on here, but it was, you know, I really doubt that this was ever used. It looks basically brand new, but you can see there's a place for a processor, you know, RAM over here, There's 5 ISA ports, 1 AGP port. It looks like to me 4 IDE connectors here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 IDE controllers. So you can hook up a ton of storage to this thing. 1 floppy port, you know. There's COM ports here. So there's, I believe these are both COM serial ports up here. Then there's also USB on this thing. This one in particular does not have necessarily the SATA connections. Oh yes, it does too. Holy crap, I think these are SATA, yeah, SATA 1 and SATA 2. So this has, basically, if it works, this has everything you would want on a system where you might want to go back to the PCI area or forward into the modern era to test some things out. So I really, really like this board. This is a Soyo Dragon 2 P41875P, it looks like, or maybe that's a D41875P, not sure. But looks like a really good board. Here's 2 more SATA ports down here I didn't see. I was trying to figure out when this was made. Maybe I'm just missing the date code, but this has a date code, it looks like, of 0244, so that'd be 2002. This one up here says 0249, so 49th week, 2002, I believe is when this was made. Correct me if I'm wrong. So FireWire, well, obviously PS2, FireWire, USB, networking built in, serial ports, parallel port, and sound card all built in. So really all you need to do is pop a video card, some memory, processor in here, and you're good to go. Now, I was going to say, look at all this capacitor porn, but what I'm noticing is these are swollen. So, you know, if I do decide to use this, I might need to change out some of these capacitors. I think they should look like this one here. See how that's nice and... This one's nice and flat, and then these over here all have swollen and they look like they might even be leaking. So that could be an issue. We'll have to see. So here's some quick specs on this board. It does look like it supports Intel MPGA socket 478 type processors, so Pentium 4 processors. So yeah, it should be a pretty good system, I think, if you wanted to recreate that experience. Again, not vintage as I would consider it, but for the price, I was glad to pick these up. So again, here's another same vintage board. Let's just go ahead and open this one up. It's sealed with a little piece of tape here to let people know if it's been sealed. And it was not disturbed at all. So this has never been opened. And again, it was just sitting in a box, completely unused. So this is an MSI board, and you can see the model number there, MS7380. Similar set of ports. So we've got SATA ports here. We've got IDE, couple of IDE ports here, floppy disk controller here, COM ports, USB ports. We've got PCI Express and old school PCI ports here. And then on the front, same basic type of ports, USB, FireWire, audio, all that stuff. And here's some quick specs on that motherboard I just showed. It's a 775, socket 775 system. So it supports a certain set of Intel Core Duo, I think, type processors. So, you know, not too impressive in terms of what you would see today, but DDR2 RAM. It's an NVIDIA N4750 chipset on board. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, all kinds of, you know, eSATA and RAID, actually has RAID support and all that kind of stuff. Again, semi-modern motherboard that still has old school slots and ports on it to connect older stuff. So really, really cool motherboard, I think. Last but not least, I also found a Sound Blaster 16 value card. So it's an ISA card that is a Sound Blaster 16 compatible. And it's full of dog hair here, there, and everywhere. So this is going to need some cleaning, but it's always good to find, for me anyway, an ISA Creative Labs sound card that I can use in my builds. So this was a bonus. All right, so all in all, I actually found 12 of these motherboards. And like I said, I bought them in bulk. I offered them more of a bulk price. And the joystick, or trackball in this case, the 2 cards, and what else? And the power supplies, all of that, all told, came to a grand total of $55 at eWaste. Like I said, if I was going to buy just a couple of these motherboards, I probably would have still paid between $40 and $50 for all of this. But because I bought these in bulk, they're like, yeah, sure, we'll make you a deal just to get rid of them. So I ended up paying $55 total for all of this. And I think that is a pretty good win for today's e-waste Wednesday. Let me know what you think about these motherboards. Are they worth keeping? I looked at some of the other ones. They don't appear to have, it was really just that one board that had the bad caps. I didn't see any noticeably bad caps on the other motherboards, but yeah, I think this is pretty good. And let me know about these upscaler cards, like what I should do with those. Link to a playlist or a video up above that you should check out and watch next if you're new to my channel. And I'll see you over there in that video. Oh, and of course, thanks to all my patrons who support the channel. Without their support, I wouldn't be able to do nearly as much stuff on this channel. So thank you to them as well.
End of line.